Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Nerdy Neighborhood, and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I'm your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood Bi, and I am here with a returning indie comic creator tonight, and also just comic creator in general. This is Travis Gibb of Orange Cone Productions. What's up tonight, Travis?
Hi, how are you? I'm the resident pizza man. So if
he is. He is. In case you all don't know this for some reason, he is our resident pizza man. He runs the pizza shop. So he's not only the deliverer, he also makes it. He runs a hell of a shift.
Correct. So the whole scam, guys, is I'm making comics to buy a pizza place to help sell pizza to make comics and like have a circular thing. It's just ongoing. Yeah. So I get free pizza and keep making comics. I haven't got to the pizza part, but I'm well into the comic stuff.
I think it's a perfect plan. Like I feel like you should be in a movie with like Megamind. They should bring back Megamind and you just jump in a film with him.
In comics, comics and pizza are good, right? So if you're a good delivery man, you're going to get like $5 a tip, which is the price of a comic, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Make this work. Like sell pizza, make tip, buy comic.
You know what? I'm wondering why, and maybe I missed it because TMNT has been around forever. But has this not been a plot in TMNT? Because it should be. This is the gold mine, Travis. You gotta hold on to this. Nobody else can touch this idea except Travis.
I'm excited. One of my goals is TMNT. That's like my goal. Like because I'm from Rock City, New Hampshire. Dover's right next door. One of my goals. In fact, I just recently decided to put a pitch packet together specifically for TMNT because for a while they weren't doing any spinoffs for a little bit. They stopped doing those miniseries, or the miniseries were done by like people who were in staff or Power Rangers guys who jumped over.
Yeah.
But this new Armageddon War, I see that they've kind of opened that up a little bit. A lot of names I don't recognize. So I want to be one of those names, and that is one of my goals. I don't care if it's like $1 a page. Like, I'll write it, whatever. Give me $22, I'll write your whole thing. I
love it. I think you would kill it. Like, I think that would be one of the top tier books out there easily.
I would kill it. I would kill it. I love Ninja Turtles. Like, and I was so furious. Like, I love Sophie. I think she's doing a great job. But do you read Turtles at all?
I do not.
Okay, that's okay. So you remember Chokar and Razor from the movie, right? From the Turtles too. And then we, you know, growing up, we had Bebop and Rocksteady. Well, they finally crossed over and were about to fight. And instead of having them fight, they had a rock band battle, which I love rock. I mean, I write a book called Granite State Punk, but they need to fight.
Couldn't they have done both? Like they start off the rock band and then they say screw this and then they start like that buildup would be cool, I think. But
I want Superman and Doomsday level fight for Bebop and Rocksteady and Joe Cardoza. That's what I want. And I want just like, you know, the death of Superman, I want like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of Justice League try to interfere and they just get owned.
That would be amazing. You just I think you just created the like next greatest crossover ever.
Right. And I even have a better idea, but I'm not going to share that one publicly because that's my pitch whenever it gets to it. But I have a pitch. So if I ever get to do a Ninja Turtle spinoff, I can do one that's really, really good that I think would sell like hotcakes.
I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to happen. And I'm also really looking forward to your next book they have coming out. And it's actually being published by Band of Bards. So it's one of the few things we're talking about today from you because you've got a gazillion projects in the works at all times. COINS of Judas. So that's supposed to be out January 18th, apparently, according to Previews World. Right now, we'll see if that holds. But it's coming out super soon. So I'm super excited because I read that first issue you sent me and it blew me out of the water with how great an issue it was. And it had a nice, like, kind of misdirection at one point that pays off in another way. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, COINS of Judas is a fun book. It should be out January 18th. It's already in the printer, and I think they're being shipped out, which is really, really cool. But COINS of Judas, it's about a family. This is Connor and Cullen. I'm sorry, it's Cullen. His name is not Connor. It's Cullen.
Yeah, Cullen.
What I said. And basically, it's a family of demon hunters. But the twist of these demon hunters versus normal demon hunters is when the coins of Judas that were basically paid to betray Christ, when those 30 pieces of silver got thrown on the ground from Judas, they unleashed demons onto the world. And so there's 30 demons, and there's various hunter groups that are trying to fight them. And this is a brother and sister who've I can't spoil it, but something happens to their family that's kind of messed them up a little bit mentally. And they're hunting demons, and they're having fun doing that, kind of. I mean, they don't love it.
Yeah, it was interesting because definitely one of them enjoys it a lot, while the other one is kind of like, fuck, why am I here? Like, can we just not?
Yeah, it's a neat series. I would say this is my first superhero series. Like, I would say that this is my, Midnight Suns, Blade, Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
This is John Constantine. This is that. It's just to have fun. The origin story of it's really fun too. So I wrote a story of this for the Mad Cave Talent Scout. I wrote a version of this. Using Wolvenheart, and did a whole bunch of cool things for it.
Yeah, great series.
And then Band of Bards was doing Tales from the Static, and they said, hey, we need submissions. I submitted a version of this story, which is basically the opening story. So that opening story is basically what I submitted to them, and they declined me with the weirdest decline ever. They're like, we're not putting this in our anthology. We want it to make it a series.
Oh, wow. That's like the best decline you can get.
So I was like, oh, okay. So we looked into it. We talked about their budget, our budget, what we could do, because Tyler's very busy. I'm very busy. So we agreed on a 2-issue storyline, which is very different. No, not a lot of people do two issues. But we did a 2-issue arc. So it's a 1 and 2, and it's done. We are going to come up with, spoiler. In fact, I can even send you the art. We are going to do a second one though, because it's been very well. The orders were very good. It was the highest of Band of Bards for sale so far.
Oh my gosh! Congrats!
Thank you. So we're going to do a second one, which is really cool, later in the year, which I'm really excited about. So, and that's called, I can't find it right now, but that's going to be called Coins of Judas. The Gambler, which is another 2-part. We're going to go to Kickstarter and do a trade for you guys. We're going to do a nice trade for the Kickstarter, and then we'll do a trade for the direct market. So we're going to kind of mix the direct market and Kickstarter together and build this nice synergy to get everyone together. But we've been great. I mean, we've got 9 store exclusives. I don't know if you saw how many store exclusives. It's very, very cool. And some big names doing store exclusives. So we got Carmeline, who you may not know, but he created Frey and did tons of Buffy work. Did Loners. He did amazing stuff. Rich Woodall, who does Electric Black for Scout. He did Sergeant Werewolf, all sorts of really cool. He did a cover for us. So we've been super blessed on the covers that we've been able to get. Stan Yak did a cover for us.
Wow.
Great stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah.
The pages if you want. I saw that you had the
PDFs.
PDFs.
I'll go back to that. I just wanted to pull up the previews. There's another cover here, which is pretty cool. Previews, guys, because they're coming out soon. This is actually the B cover, so it's not even like a store exclusive, which is also nice, which means it's still likely you can get this cover, hopefully, if it hasn't already sold out the store. But yeah, that's amazing. And I am so grateful that you are willing and able to share that even after these 2 issues, we can expect more. Because I know that's kind of a bummer sometimes for some fans where they're like, well, if I really like this and it's only 2 issues, I'm not sure if I want to get invested. So it sounds like this is a good investment for people that will really like it.
Yeah, and we give you a new issue 1, and we're trying to make it so they're separate. You don't need the first one to have it. Obviously, the more you get, the better the story is going to be. But yeah, we wanted to give it, and I wanted to give you guys a good trade, right? Like, if I'm going to do something, let's finish it off, give you a decent trade. These issues are 24 pages apiece. It's going to give you about a 100-page trade. So it's going to be good and worth it. So I wanted to build that. So I wanted to give you some fun. But it's been super fun to do. It's very out of my league, right? Like, manga style is not what I do. But people seem to really dig the, like, manga-ish style. It's like a mix. It's like modern manga.
Yeah, and honestly, I like it because, I'm not a big manga fan, however you say it. I don't know anymore. I'm not a big fan of it straight up, but I do like elements of it, especially like the slash kind of fighting like you see here in the bottom right that has a slight texture to it too. That's very manga.
The red and white like break-ins. Yeah.
Yeah, like I love that. I love elements of manga, but just the whole thing, and that's all it is, doesn't work as much for me. So I think this really is the best of both worlds, and I think it can attract people that maybe more like me and not into the manga, but also people that are super into the manga and they're like, "Whoa, this is a really cool way to do it."
Right.
It's awesome. I love how creepy these little creatures are too. Like that thing, absolutely terrifying, but also kind of fun, but also terrifying.
Yeah, they were super fun to write and draw. This opening scene is great. We love what we're doing. There's so much potential in this universe, because of what we've done and how we've created. As you read, because you've read the whole first issue, there's a lot of like things you want to know the answers to, which I think is a lot of fun. I don't tend to do that all the time when I'm writing stuff because I'm trying to make it finite. But this is, like I said, my first superhero books don't give you all the information right off the bat. Like, they let you build and learn, so it's a giant world.
And I love that because you say it's a superhero book, but it's less of a superhero book for like one or two superheroes, because as you kind of mentioned, at least it sounds like the direction you're going opens it up for other future characters. And maybe I'm wrong, but the way you've set the mythology would allow that if you went that direction in terms of like who else could be going after the coins, right? And you can explore these different ways. So in a way, I know you mentioned Buffy earlier just for the artist and what he's done, but that's kind of like the joy of like shows like Buffy or even Charmed or whatever, the mythology of it. And if you can carry that mythology correctly, it can work with all kinds of characters, even outside the main character you grow to love.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I love about it too, that someone pointed out in one of the interviews who read the book, what they liked about Coins of Judas, which I didn't think about at the time, is when you think about supernatural stories like a Torchwood or a Supernatural.
Yeah, right.
You never have an end, right? There's never an end, where this has a finite end. All right, there's 30 coins. How do we get the 30 coins together?
Yeah.
What are the 30 demons? And I think people like that. I think that people have that. And my goal is, of course, to expand it as long as I can, right? By giving orders, and not everybody has the coins, and some are loose in the world, some are connected by these things. I think that's the real fun of the story, is adding all that and creating that mythos. And especially on the first end of this first issue, we have the whole first issue without introducing the villain until the end, which is so much fun.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that. That was really great that interviewer pointed that out, is that, it does have a finite. It's like 30 coins, and what, how are we going to get them? Reminds me of the show Winona Earp, which was with the Revenant, and she had like 70 something. I can't remember the number, but she has a certain number exactly of Revenants to kill. A problem that show did, in my opinion, and I think you would probably agree, is that they killed the Revenants, like got rid of the curse and all that. So they had, they had the Revenants, and it was a curse. And then I think it was season 3, the start, they broke the curse. The Revenants didn't matter. And it was like, you just took away the main mythology and the great part of the show, which is her job is to kill the Revenant. What? Why would you do that?
It's so wild, these stories that build it. But I think that all great supernatural shows do that. Going back to Buffy, when it started, we just got to close the hellmouth and we're fine. Right. Like that was it. Like, we just close this and bad things will stop happening to Sunnydale. Like, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And, that's kind of, that's my inspiration. That's the stuff I love. I love those shows. I love Highlander, I love Stargate. I love these series that create these great mythos. And, this book is written in those veins.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one thing, because I love the shows too, where they get bigger and bigger. The only thing I see happen more often than I'd like, especially the longer the supernatural show in particular goes on, like any supernatural show, is they get too big too quickly. And then once they get so big, they don't know what to do. And I think that's why, like, a lot of supernatural shows, even though we want them to go on forever because we love them, I think some of them would be better at like a season 5 or 6. Like Buffy was supposed to end season 5. It was written that way as well. And then they kept going. And as much as there were great things about the other seasons further on, it's kind of like it made sense to end it there. It worked for the mythology and everything. So, but I'm excited, especially for this, because like you said, even, this has a finite ending for the 2 issues, but you're also going to continue it. So it sounds like you have like a great handle on your mythology and you have a clear path of where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to write, just like you mentioned, I want to write stories that aren't just about this family. I want to show some of the other people who are hunting these or interacted with these coins. I want to show it from various different perspectives. Some people may want it for religious reasons. Some people who are, it's got coins. You got to have pirates at some point, right? We have to have pirates.
Yeah.
What does that do with this? How does all this stuff look at? We got 2,000 years of history that we can play with to give us really cool stories in this universe that help expand the world and give some cool adventures. That's one of the cool things I want to do in the trade is have all 30 coins mentioned, but not only give informations of the ones that have come. Because one of the things that isn't really mentioned in the book, well, it's mentioned maybe in issue 2. I'm not sure if you read it in this one, but each coin represents evil, like what evil you can do with a coin, whether it be like child prostitution or like buying people as slaves, because we've got 2,000 years, whatever. The worst thing you can think of for buying coins are what manifest these demons. So like I think that is important to the story of showing kind of the evil of money, right? Like that's the kind of the message that I want to put in there. Like, we use money to do evil things. Here is 30 examples, and 30 demons represent the 30 evils that you can do on that. So I think it's really super interesting when we all play it out from how they manifest and how they're going to be played out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I love, kind of like you said, this is your first like kind of superhero story, and especially in that, like, it's a good kind of versus evil thing going on, because some of the other stuff you've done, a lot of the other stuff you've done isn't exactly that finite, at least. Like you did the Kickstarter Granite State Punk, which I adore, and it's actually got picked up by Scout, and it's coming out in March with a brand new cover, which I'm gonna pull up because this is so cool. This is freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, one of Scout's rules is you need to have a brand new cover. So you have to have a brand new cover. So that was one of the things that we needed to do. So we had to have him create a cover, and we went crazy punk. We're hoping that, when someone sees us on the shelf, this is what people are going to. Not that I don't love the Kickstarter version of this cover where he's riding on zombies and stuff, but I think this cover is really cool. Speaks for a lot of what the book is about. Shows kind of the style of really shows Patrick's art, which I think is really cool. I don't like the Travis Gibbs part of it, but that's kind of the Scout thing, how they wanted to produce it, because I don't have that ego. Like, like I really believe comics are a partnership. So me and Patrick are that. So hopefully I can convince them to not have that whenever.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they could have at least put like Gibb and Burmeyer's. Like that's the thing, guys.
Sure. But we'll see. But yeah, other than that, I love that cover. And then the B cover for that, which is the 1 in 10. Is our metal cover that we had for the Kickstarter, because it was so limited release, they allowed us to use it. So I'm really excited for people to get that metal cover, because you could only get that in metal form before.
Yeah, no, that one's gorgeous. And I really do love this cover too, because it really does speak, like you said, to what the book's about, so much of what's in it, but it really grabs your attention. Like I have, I think, at least 2 covers of this book, and I'm probably still gonna get this one because I want to support you. It's a great story, and this cover, like, this is something you put on a wall. Like, you don't just buy this and throw it in your box and never look at it again. Like, this is, Patrick did such a great job on it. So I know it was more work for him, but I'm actually glad Scout wanted you guys making our cover, because if they didn't, we probably wouldn't have this.
Yeah, no, I'm super happy about it. I'm super happy about this cover, and I think it'll stand out on the shelf. I think people see that, like, there is nothing like that, and I think Patrick's art needs to show that, right? It needs to show that it's unique and it's special. And I think this cover really shows, like, it's wild. It looks super indie. And I think when you open it and look at Patrick's art, how beautiful his art is, like, you're going to pick up this book.
Yeah, no, Patrick's art is one of my favorites. For those of you who don't know, Patrick Burmeyer, if I said that right, he does Discordia, which is a series he does with Chris, and it's one of my favorite series. And while the writing and the mythology in that series are fantastic, the best part, my favorite part, is Patrick's art. So, like, I think that's originally part of how I found out about this Kickstarter originally was I found it because of him. And then I got to know you as well, Travis. So I was like, sold. I don't even need to know what it's about. Like,
right.
And so I ordered it immediately because it was such an easy sell. So I really hope that not only does this help you grow, but I hope people, like you said, really see Patrick's art here and they really grab hold of it too. Because you guys, if you haven't read Granite State Punk yet, if you didn't get the Kickstarter or what have you, this is your time to get it and you will not regret it. It is one of my favorite Kickstarters I've ever read, and it's a favorite book of mine as well in general.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the book I'm most proud of. Not that I don't love Coins of Judas and think it's a great book, but Granite State Punk is so personal. I've shared the story. I think I shared it in the last interview, but I'll share it again. You know, my grandmother passed away and she left me a decent amount of money and I could pick any artist I wanted. And I love Discordia as well. I love the art. And I knew I could bring something out of Patrick because I make him write. Like, he likes to hide in the dark. He likes to draw all his stuff super dark, and you have to bring it up to a light to see all his beautiful detail. And I was like, nope, I want it light. I want it bright. You know, and I wanted him. He was the artist that I picked. That I, you know, whatever the money cost, I was going to do this book, and I didn't spare an expense. And luckily, it did really well. Luckily, we did the sequel, you know, Granite State Punk 2, which we talked about. It's coming out. It should also get a scout release unless something crazy happens and it doesn't sell well for issue 1, which I don't think that's going to be a problem. But if for some reason, but issue 2 is already out, which is really, really cool. We're hoping to, my goal hopefully is the next year do this seasonally. So you'll get it seasonally. This will be the winter version, then we'll get a spring, and then we'll we'll do some. So that is my hope, you know, for the book. So we'll get that going. So I hope to do 2 more with Patrick next year. It's just finding a schedule. He's a very in-demand writer, artist, to get him in the schedule. But hopefully we can do another one of these and get some more of them, because I'll write this book forever. I love it. It speaks to my soul and my brokenness, and like it allows me to put it on the page and like really like speak to it. It's a character that's closest to me. He's very much not me, but like he thinks a lot like I do. Like he's always trying to prove himself and prove he's the smartest person in the room, even though he doesn't need to. Like like so, and I feel that, you know, deeply. No, and it shows. Like I think that's why, even though, like you said, like a lot of these are books you've done, including Coins of Judas, are phenomenal. But this one, when people read it, like I as a reader can feel exactly what you're saying. Like this is you. It really does have, you know, your heart and soul. And honestly, even if this book isn't as personal for Patrick, it really feels like he put a little extra something into it too. Yeah, I mean, he's from the punk scene. You know, he loves punk rock. He loves that. So I think that resonates. I think the thing that we do with the book, which is interesting, is we don't tend to talk about the music as much in the book. I do a little bit more in the second one than I did the first, but we don't talk about the music. And the reason why is when Patrick and I conceived this book, we wanted to speak about punk rock as a culture. So punk rock culture is a bunch of people who have all the answers to solve all the world's problems, but they don't want to do it. They don't want to do anything. They just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that, I love that. I love that about, there's nothing more that I love than to just sit and talk to people about solving the world's problems, even though I don't plan on doing anything about it. Like, it's this crazy, crazy world. Like if everybody would do what they talk about in our living rooms, you know, I think the world would be a better place, but we can't. There's just so much extra stuff that we add on to it, right? And like divides that we need to put there to prevent us from doing all these things. And then, you know, just personal selfishness, not like saying selfishness as a bad thing, like self-preservation, you know. I would love to stop and help everyone, but I need to eat, so I'm gonna work
it's definitely tough. And you know, I've had multiple, you know, creators even just come on the show, and of course people I've talked to in private talk, you know, just about how like comics in general are very hard. You know, like you're not even just talking comics, you're talking about like the world problems, right? But even just with them making comics and writing comics and buying them, creating them, all these things, it gets so tough. And like you said, that I feel like there's a lot of self-preservation that not only kicks in, but has to kick in. So that makes it harder as well. Yeah,
I think comics are one of the hardest mediums in the world because anybody who's ever been successful in comics, it's because not only because of their writing, but because people like them.
Yeah.
People like Brian Michael Bendis. People like Neil Gaiman. Like people like the, Matthew Rosenberg. People like, they like them because they interact with their fans and they wear their heart out. And I think that that's an important thing. But selling comics gets so complicated, right? Because there's people who have feuds that some of them are real. Some of them are literally having feuds to sell books, which is crazy, but people do it. Like it's all this crazy nonsense. And even me, like as I start to go to the direct market, I find like people going, "Hey man, like you're sold out." Like, did I? No, I'm making books. I want as many people to read my books as possible. Like I want to level up. And I want to do that. And I just actually wrote this beautiful thing. You were kind of reading it before where I kind of talked about, you know, personally why being in the direct market is so important to me. It's because I don't just want to do this. I'm happy with my Kickstarter fans. I think they're great. I think they're the best fans that I'm ever going to have because they're willing to invest as much money as it is. They're not trying to spec me. They're not trying to do any of that. They're just like, I think you're good. I love watching you grow and I want to be part of that process. Like, I think that's beautiful. Yeah. But I personally want to be a household name. I want to be in every bookstore. So I want someone to see that cover of Granite State Punk or Coins of Judas and go, "Hey, that looks interesting. I want to pick it up. Wow, this guy's pretty good. Let's see what else he writes," and do that. Because that's so different than me being on this show and someone liking you and then hearing me, I like you. So they're buying my personality and hoping my writing is good. And I want that. Yeah. Like I get that. But I also want someone to just go, "You made a great product. I don't know who the fuck you are, but I want it. Like, this is a cool product," and then get a fan. Like I want that. Like, so I want both. I want it all. Like it sounds greedy, but I want it all.
Yeah, no, and I like that you touch on both those things because I think sometimes people think speaking to one way or the other and preferring a way can make you kind of like you hinted earlier, other things like selfish or greedy, like all these very negative connotations. And it's like, sure, it can, but that's not always the actual case. And, you know, most of the reason people do this stuff is a lot of the stuff I think you're saying, right? Like you just want to reach people. You want people, of course, you know, it's nice to be liked and to feel like, wow, they like my personality, but you also just want your work to be recognized for what it is. And then they go, "I don't know who the hell this guy is, but I guess I'll pick up the next thing he does because this was really good. You know, maybe this one will be good." It's a different form of investment, I think, and a different form of appreciation from fans.
Yeah, and I don't think people, you know, and I myself like view leveling up, you know, going into publishers, right? You know, I go to Scout and then I go to After. Like that logo means something. It means sales and it means quality, right? If you buy an Image book, even if you don't like it, you know it's going to be high quality, right? Like, like you know that. You're like, you may think it's crappy because it doesn't speak to your personality or whatever, or you don't like the art style, but you know that it's a quality book. Someone vetted that and said, like, this guy has the stuff and can write the things. Even Savage Dragon is that way, Eric Larson. Even Savage Dragon. I think people don't realize that at the low level, at the level that I'm at, like there's no money in it. And even if there is money in it, it's 9 months out. Like I've got to make the whole thing. I then got to give it to them. They take a cut of all my hard work. Like, and then they sell it. And they don't do a great job selling it. I still have to sell it. You saw me hustling the Coins of Judas and hustling State Punk. Like I have to do that to make something. And then if it ever makes it big, they get a cut of that, of everything from the movies and all that stuff. It's not a good investment, guys. Like it's because I love comics and I want as many people reading my comics as possible. So in fact, before the Aftershock, like big list came out, I heard about the rumor of non-paying. I was like, I'd probably still work for them because, you know, Aftershock's a great name. It's a great level up. David Pepos, Aftershock, Savage Avengers. Like it seems to be working for people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And you hit on that even just at the start of that you know, newsletter you sent out. Where, you know, I love how transparent you are. Like, again, you're not somebody that says stuff in interviews or publicly, then behind the scenes, something else is going on. You're so transparent. Like you even, you know, took a screenshot of all your Kickstarters and what their, you know, how many people backed it, how much money was made off it. And you know, you go through that to further explain exactly a lot of what you just said. So I thought that was super cool because I'm like, man, this guy's not going to hide a damn thing. You want to know what he's doing and what's going on? He has no problem showing you.
Yeah, well, and I want people to know, like, I'm not, just because I'm talking about the direct market lately, I'm not abandoning anybody. I'm not abandoning Kickstarter. I'm going to make Kickstarter comics for as long as I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
You know, as long as I can, because I love that community. And those people who back me, like you, it means the world to me that Travis, your book is worth 3 of my books at my store. Like that,
right?
That means something to me. Like I know it doesn't mean something to everybody, but for me personally, it means a lot. It means tremendously. You know, and I really recommend, if you haven't read that newsletter, please put it in the notes.
Yeah,
because I get really vulnerable. One of the things I share, and I can share it here publicly, is my dad had a daughter, and I never met her. Never met her. I've seen her once visually, and that put this fear of me from a child that because my dad. So let me back up. Sorry, I went to my part before I finished my dad part. My dad decided to choose to not have any contact with her, so he didn't have to pay any money. That was his choice. He did it as a young child, and he made the decision that I'm sure he felt was the best for him or whatever. But me, growing up, you know, I was like, man, I could be gone in a minute. My dad can just decide.
Yeah.
Because I placed that in my head. My dad never treated me like that. I never thought that was the case, but that was what I put. So I put all these pressures onto me of like, all right, I got to be the best son or do the best and try to not mess up. And I messed up a lot because just who I am, you know, trying to do that. So, and I think that puts my drive out there. Like, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work the best because of that. Because at any moment I can lose it. And I'm afraid of losing it at any moment. And I think that that's a good thing for my drive. I know also it's a bad thing psychologically, right? And my wife has been wonderful. I have a wonderful wife who's taught me since I met her, like, people just love you. It's okay. Like, you don't have to try so hard. Like, right. Because when she met me, like, all my free time, she was like, hey, when can we date? All right, cool. I can see you on Thursday because I'm doing this for this friend. I'm doing this for this friend, this friend. And I really thought in my head, like, if I didn't do all these things for all my friends, like, they wouldn't be my friend, which is not reality at all.
Right.
A single friend going, hey, I'm going to invest more time in my wife, because they didn't care. That was just spending time with me. And I just volunteered my time to do things. So as I get into comics and I get to this thing and I hear these messages of people who just don't understand it. Some of it's they don't understand. They understand the Kickstarter market, or they want to be in the indie scene. Like, I care about the indie, like the people who like indie rock, right? Yeah. I don't want anything on the mainstream radio. And that's beautiful. Like, I'm okay with that. I read a lot of indie books, but I also love mainstream books. Yeah. And I hate this like status quo of people. And I know I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking to a lot of these YouTube shows where they're just like, everything mainstream sucks. You need to buy Kickstarter. You need to buy Indiegogo. It's just a lie. There's amazing books every effing week that come out in comics. I just read The Last House on the Lake, number 12. I was almost in tears of how great that book was. DC versus Vampires, number 12, the last issue was so good. So good. Like, there's so many good stuff coming out that you've decided, because you put this wall up, that there's a separation when we're just making comics. And why can't we all be it? And you want us to be all on the same level. You need to accept that they're making stuff that may not speak to you, and it's okay.
Yeah, no, I love you talk about that, because even though on this channel I do a lot of, focusing on indie creators and such, we still will have episodes where we're talking about just DC stuff or Marvel stuff or whatever. And some people might be like, well, how can you be focused on indie stuff but still do that? And it's like, because you can like both. There's absolutely nothing wrong with still supporting DC and Marvel books while you also still support indie. The idea, I think, behind a lot of it is, in my head, it's let me support both as much as I can, right? And try to get a balance. It's never going to be 50-50, but trying to find a nice balance with stuff you like, obviously not forcing yourself to buy it just because it's an indie book or just because you need a DC book that week, right? Like, just doing the best you can. And I think a lot of people forget that. Like, everybody is literally doing the best they can. Whether you like them or not, whether you agree with their morals or not, the whole other thing. But in their head, they think they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you try to tell me that the Krakoa is not the best things that's ever happened to X-Men in years, like, you're out of your mind. Like, like, there's some crazy stuff. If you don't think Nightwing is the best it's ever been, like, you're not paying attention. You're just lying to yourself, for no reason. Like, why are you you loved comics, you read all these things. That's what made you fall in love with it. Like, why are you mad about that? Like, why are you all of a sudden like, like, no, like it may not be your Spider-Man right now, but it'll revert to the Spider-Man you like eventually. Like, all these things get a reset eventually. Like, just wait it out. It'll be okay, right?
There you go.
Is not going to happen forever.
Right.
Like being Daredevil, it's going to go back to fully just Matt Murdock. They'll hate each other. She'll try to kill him again. It'll be fine. Everything's going to be great. Spider-Man and Mary Jane are broke up right now. They'll be back together within 10 years. It's okay.
Right, right. And I totally agree. My biggest thing is like, because there are things I will not like at certain times in comics, right?
Yeah.
So I don't go around saying, you know what, even though the Nightwing run is great critically, it's just not my thing right now. I'm just not reading it. I'm not going around saying fuck the Nightwing run because I don't want to read it. I just keep my mouth shut and let other people talk about it.
Right.
Because they like it and it is good. That's fine. Nothing, literally nothing wrong with that.
No, it's crazy the way people talk about the thing they love, right? Like a lot of the internet, they talk so poorly about this thing they love, and I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's like how can you love a thing and all you can say is, you know, a critique or something negative like almost every other breath. Like that can't be actual like genuine love. There's something else that you need to go work on, like you know, and but you know, half the battle is just recognize that. People recognize that, we'd be a lot better off. But
if you're saying, hey, I want to support new and up and coming writers, like that's fine. Like I don't want to buy any mainstream because I fully invested in this next camp. I feel that like it's getting stale. Those are fine statements, but don't say it's bad, because especially when we deep dive and you haven't read it. Like, right? Yeah,
it's crazy when people will be like, oh, wow, finally, a good Marvel book, because they really love DC, hate Marvel, or vice versa. And I'm like, what do you mean there's only one? Like, that's the one you enjoy. Say that. But it's not the only good one out there. There's multiple options that are critically and logically great. Right. You're just found the one that you happen to like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like people choose their words very interesting. I agree. Like their word choice isn't always the best.
Well, and I haven't heard anybody say they liked Batman versus the Spawn versus Batman that came out. Like they liked the art, but I've never heard anyone go, that was the greatest story. Everyone's been like, I don't really understand the story. I think there may be a second part, maybe all these things. Like it's okay to have fair criticisms, but criticisms, because though that may not be the best book, it sold a shit ton of copies.
Of course it did. And that was the whole point. So that's the thing too. People will criticize it afterwards, but I think that's what's interesting too, is I heard a lot of like, this really wasn't good. This wasn't really great story-wise. The art was good, but like, and there are probably some people that hate it, but I actually have not personally seen a lot of direct, like just outlandish, like, hey, this sucks, this is trash, throw it away, because again, there's a reason it sold. It didn't have to have, that book did not need to have the greatest story ever to sell, and they knew that, and that's exactly what happened. So some things are just, that's just how some things work. Every book is different, every creator is different, every publisher is different, and that's kind of the nice thing, is that we do have these nice differences.
Well, yeah, nobody bought that book. Nobody bought that book going, this is going to be the most amazing story ever, because no one, and even Todd McFarlane, like I'm not even speaking bad about Todd, he will tell you there's a reason why he hires people to co-plot and write his books. Like he's not, that's not his skill set. He's a way better artist than writer. I'm not saying he can't have great ideas, you know, but he's not great at that, you know? So I think that's super interesting, you know, but it's such a wonderful world that we live in, that even though that's not the greatest thing, that's probably the book that a lot of people, only book they read this year. Like that.
No, and there might be, you know, kids that they get that from their parents or something, or that's the one they read, and then, you know, 10 years from now, they're going to be buying comics. Like, people just don't know. That's the beauty of it, is that stuff like this, you never know what's going to mean to somebody or what's going to come from it. Right.
No, that's true. Very true.
Well, I'm super excited. Again, I know you got a million more projects probably coming out next year. But we talked about Coins of Judas tonight, and we talked about Granite State Punk's Scout release coming out in March. Anything else you want to share about either one of those projects that you just want to share that people need to know?
Wow. Well, again, go to the comic stores, order them. We're doing a contest for Coins of Judas. If you ever get all the covers, I'm going to CGC whatever cover you want, which I think is a cool thing. Yeah. So whatever cover you want out of the bunch, I'll slab one, sign it, get the whole team to sign it, and give it to you. So that's a cool contest we're doing.
Yeah, that's epic.
So I think that's cool. Yeah, for Kickstarters, we have Expired 2 coming out. We have Voodoo 4, the final Voodoo, coming out. Cthulhu Invades Neverland, which I'm not sure if you heard. Colin Bunn has joined us.
What? Really? That's amazing. I don't know how you pulled that off, but huge congrats. You're already making those connections to get up there to TMNT. Yeah,
and it's not. I've known it for a bit because he agreed to it very long. But he has a script and there's art pages, so that's really cool. So Colin Bunn's gonna be in it, as well as like people like Pat Shan's in it. Charlie from White Ash is in it. Like we are leveling up on the quality and the people who are in it. So I think that's going to be a really fun book that comes out later this year. I got a super secret project. I can't tell you what it is, but it's a super secret project that's come. We've got again the second arc of Coins of Judas. We've got the beginning of the year, the wildest book that we're going to produce. My wife wrote. My son only eats cottage cheese. Don't know why. All he loves. So my wife wrote a song about cottage cheese, and it then became a comic book. So there is a full-mastered professional song and comic book goes together about cottage cheese. That's going to launch next year. So
that's amazing.
We've got some wild stuff, and that's not counting Holiday Spirits that just finished up. Holiday Spirits 2 is going to send Holiday Spirits 3. And then I got a super secret project again in October. And then Granite State Punk. We've got issue 3 coming out. We're going to work on that. I'm working on the script right now to get that out to Patrick and get that on the list. Yes. Some wild stuff.
I am so excited. I don't know when you sleep. Do you sleep? Like, there's no way you can with all this leveling up.
I got to tell you, it's been really hard. Like the transition into Diamond, that was a huge wake up call for me because I thought I was ready, but I was not. I was not ready for all right, cool. I need covers in the full issue done by this date. I need you to promote it from this date to this date because it's the final order cutoff. Like all these, I was like, well, because Kickstarter, I'm just like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to launch and I do 30 days where this is not that. Like it's that. And now like you can't order Coins of Judas. You can because they order back issues. So don't listen to me. Like the order cutoff is done. But if you told your store now before it's released, odds are you're going to be able to get it. Like but Diamond's already placed their order of how many they're going to get. They order like 300 or 400 extra, so you should be good. But I then still have to promote it, even though like I'm not making new sales, which is weird, right? Like
and even though like isn't that supposed to be a perk of having publishers that they market?
Right. So I still got to do it. I got to do my Coins of Judas tour. I got to do all that, and then. March, April, January, February, March, like all crazy. And then my goal was to be in Kickstarter in Diamond all 12 months. So I wanted to be one book a month. That's not going to happen because I just can't handle that and do the Kickstarter stuff. But it's been wild, but it's been very rewarding because I'm learning a lot on how to do this and how to do it better. And how to get readers and knowing what my worth is. It's super important to know my worth, kind of what we talked about before. Like I know I am worth this on Kickstarter, right? Like I get about 250 backers. Normally it's more than that, but guaranteed 250. Let's keep me there. That's how many fans I have. That's the way I categorize it. I'm not worried about the dollar amount. I'm worried about the fans that I have because the backers is more important to me than the money. And now I'm trying to figure what's my new status quo for numbers on Diamond? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Screw that all up when I sell 9 store exclusives. So 9 stores have this many copies. Well, those are going to be probably more speckers than like, what is it? I don't know any of this, Lauren. I'm just trying to figure it out.
You're doing great, man. Honestly, like, I'm just so happy for you because before, like, last time you were on the show, you were already killing it, man. Like you are, you really know how to not only learn the business behind this, but you still care about the people. And honestly, that's a huge kudos to you because I feel like so often many people go one way or the other, right? They either get super into the business side or they're super into the people, but they unfortunately don't grasp the business side. You are grabbing both by the horns and you have not let go, like ever since I met you, even with this huge change that you went through with Diamond. So I'm just so thankful as a fan that not only are you, able to grow, level up, and be successful and keep making great stuff for me and others to read, but the fact that you still care about, the 250 from Kickstarter, because you're going to get so many more, man. Like that number, you're going to be trying to calculate that number like for the next 3 months and being like, wait, I thought I was here, but now I'm here. What?
Yeah. No, that's important. And that's how I categorize these things. People don't realize it, but that's how I categorize, like, if I put anything out, how many people are going to support it? All right, it's about 250.
Yeah.
It's more than that. Almost my Kickstarters are closer to 300, but I know it's 250 based on how many new people versus old people returning. Mm-hmm. I kind of do that math and try to figure it out, And then I know I've learned my fan base too. Oh, you really like my supernatural books, but if I write my crime book broke down 4 beds, you give 2 shits. Cool. All right, cool. And then I have the people who are like, I like those Cthulhu books. Can you do more of those? Oh, okay. Yeah. Like I get that. So it's trying to figure out your fan base, and nothing's wrong with that. Like, imagine if you're a Cullen Bunn fan, like a real Cullen Bunn fan. Mm-hmm. Like that's like $5 a month. That's expensive.
At least. No, it's insane. Like I remember when I first started reading his stuff, probably last year. It's that recent. And I was like, this guy is pretty good. So I started trying to keep up with him a bit more. Forget it. Yeah. I mean, absolutely forget it. That is something that's hard too, I think, is that can be frustrating, especially as writers or artists, whoever, get more popular creators, because then they're producing more, which is wonderful. But on the one hand, sometimes, in my opinion, when people produce more, sometimes the quality can dip, which worries me. But then on the other hand, I was trying to go to more so in the first place, you just have so many and you're breaking your bank, more than ever for this one creator. And that can be a challenge because you still want to support their work, but can you afford to?
Right. Well, and the economy is rough right now. I saw Kickstarters that normally would succeed. They're on like their 5th Kickstarter, and they weren't able to maintain, and they had to restart and stuff like that. It's a weird world, and that money means a lot. And I also think comic stores are producing a lot better stuff too. I think we're seeing the resurgence in the last 4 or 5 months of all the backlog from COVID finally is coming out, right? So like our weekly pulls are getting more. So that takes from Kickstarter, because everyone wants instant gratification, right? If you can get, not that my books aren't great, but like if you could get that same book on the shelf on Friday, like you choose the one on Wednesday, of course. Yeah. You pay less and you get it sooner. Like why would you not?
Yeah, that is a challenge. Cause I've seen like Kickstarters where, and this is something that's been talked about, but like Kickstarter, they did it. And then, within a week of the Kickstarter being done, the book's on the shelf. And I've been like, well, why did I Kickstart this?
Right.
Like, why didn't you just tell me that, like, hey, do the Kickstarter if you want these extra rewards, but if you just want the book, wait a week. Like, I get you wanted it funded, but come on, guys. Like, not all of us want this extra hoo-ha that you get from Kickstarter. Some of us just want the damn book.
Yeah. Well, I care about you too, and I have a question for you. I know you're interviewing me, but I have a question for you.
Go for it.
How are we feeling about these Nightcrawler horns? How you feeling?
Oh my God. Terrible. Listen, I wasn't a fan. So I enjoyed the Way of X book originally, even though I had a couple problems. I still enjoyed that. This Legion of X book is not it. And I was tolerating it and trying to enjoy it because I wanted to like it. And there's some good things about it. Don't get me wrong. But the horns, and it's such a big thing now. And there was the rumor, like, it was originally posted on Bleeding Cool, and my co-host Lisa of our Nightcrawler podcast, who do something amazing, she like got into like a little Twitter argument with the guy that runs Bleeding Cool, which is kind of entertaining because he was claiming like, I heard Cy Spurrier, who writes the series, say that this is gonna be permanent. And we're like, there's absolutely no way this could be permanent, dude. So, like, they got into it, which is fun for me to watch because I wasn't directly involved in it. But I think I hate it. I'm so sorry. I don't like to hate on things, but I throw it away.
You're good. I don't need to leave it about. My X-Men titles are now because I have not loved everything, even though I love the concept of everything.
Yeah.
I read Immortal X-Men and I read X-Men Red.
X-Men Red. Yep.
I did read the Excalibur one, but it didn't have enough Gambit and Rogue for me.
Yeah, you're gonna be happy. Did you hear Stephanie Phillips is doing a Rogue Gambit series?
Rogue. I'm super excited.
I saw Phillips on that book and I said sold. I have no questions because I really enjoy her writing. I'm sad to see her leave Harley Quinn, but she's doing Marvel now. It's so funny. There's a lot of creators the last like couple months of this year that like. I kind of heard the hint of, yeah, so I've been at DC or whatever, but I'm going to Marvel soon. Like, it's coming. So it's kind of crazy to me how, like, even though DC is part of the big two, for some reason it sounds like, I mean, I'm sure there's Marvel people going to DC, but I don't know. I heard a lot lately of, like, the hype is getting to Marvel. Like, that's the big money or something, you know?
Well, it's interesting because I've been researching a lot, you know, because that's my goal to be there. A lot of times it's not even about talent. It's about your editor. So your editor will get hired over at DC, and you'll just go over to DC because that's where your editor was. He was the one giving you all the books. And I was like, oh, I always think about like the writer is in charge of that, but no, it's your editor, which is what I'm doing, right? If I want to be a writer, I need to send books to editors. That editor is kind of dictating my career.
That's so cool. Because I didn't know that. And I think that's super like invaluable for not only creators to know, but even us as, you know, fans, because, you know, that can help explain a lot of the things. Like when somebody does a lot of Marvel and then does DC for a while, and everybody's like, why aren't you doing Marvel? You know, and it's like, it could be something as simple as that. Like they have no issue with it. They could still be doing it, but their editor went over there. So they followed. It makes total sense.
The editor is the person giving them jobs, and that person's up. And I think that if I was working for Marvel and DC, like on that level, like that would be my goal, right? This editor is working with all these great talents. I want to hire that editor because I'll get all those talented. Like, why individually try to snipe all the people when you can just get the editor who will do it for you?
That's true. It sounds like you gotta be an editor one day, Travis. You're gonna have to be the one bringing all the talent.
Maybe. I did want to say one more thing about it. Did you read any of the acts?
Oh, the Judgment Day event? Yeah, I read all the main stuff.
All the main stuff. I loved Nightcrawler and
Immortal X-Men 8.
And Nightcrawler and Steve Rogers in that. Just their religious point of view. Like they're like, oh, that's not God. That's not God. He's literally dictating everything you guys do. Yeah, but he's not God, so none of this matters.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. And honestly, like that whole event, and then you know, the issue where Kurt especially was highlighted, but Steve was still in it too, right? Yeah. With Immortal X-Men 8. That's the best characterization I've seen of Nightcrawler in a long time. Like that was him, and the fact that him and Steve like bonded so easily, I was like, perfect. And they're two of my favorite characters, so I'm like, of course they would, because they're similar in a lot of ways. They're not the exact same, but they have a similar morality mindset and everything.
Right. I love just the matter of fact, because you know people like to tell, like, you know, you look at a certain element. I'm not trying to talk bad. There's certain element of comics that are like religion isn't allowed in comics, and they hate us all because of religion. No. I felt Nightcrawler, and they were perfect in that. They were great, and they were sharing their religious point of views without selling your religion, trying to change you, anything. They're just sharing what their culture believes in. Their culture, it's like, this is not God. The Celestine who dictates everything in the world, they know it's all real. That's not God to them, so they don't care. I loved it. It was so good.
I completely agree, and that's one thing, because you know we've talked about that on our Nightcrawler pod as well with Kurt and religion, and you know we've talked about how we feel about other people have their own thoughts. And you know both Lisa and I pretty much agree that look, we have no problem with him being religious and being Catholic and really caring, like not being a passive but very active part of it. You know, the problem is when it starts to become kind of like you're saying, like kind of culty and kind of when it's written like that with him, it doesn't make sense for his morality. It doesn't work. But when it's written like it was in that with, you know, Steve, and Steve is very similar in that he really does believe in God. He is a Christian man and all that, but he doesn't go around speaking of it to everybody else all the time and throwing in people's faces. So when people ask, like, how do you feel about this guy being calling himself a god or whatever? That's how they felt. That's it. That's all they got on it. They're not going to go on some zealous crusade or something. They're just like, yeah, that's not him. Okay, let's go do this. Like it felt like such a good movie moment. Like if they ever put that in a movie, like I'm not saying they should bring Steve back, but if they ever did just for that moment, I'd be thrilled.
Oh yeah, no, I loved it. I thought it was great, and I think I agree with you. Kurt is best used when he's like, someone's going through a crisis and they come to him as a man of faith and he's allowed to express it then, versus him pushing his faith into a scene where it doesn't fit, right? We're fighting apocalypse. Yes, but in my religion, we do this. What does that have to do with fighting apocalypse?
Right.
Versus the Celestine saying, I am God, I'm doing all these things. And then him just going, no, you're not God because I believe. That's just, it's kind of a throwaway line, but super important to who they are as characters.
Yeah. No, I love that. I'm glad you brought up the X-Men because, yeah, you're my Magneto dude going on back there as usual. We'll have to. We gotta get you on Nightcrawler podcast. You gotta come talk about something, whether it's throwing Magneto into the mix or whatever.
Yeah, well, let's here's a challenge for you then. Find a Nightcrawler Magneto issue because there's not a lot, and then I'll read it and then we'll talk about that particular issue and I'll find. I'm sure I own it.
I love it.
So find a Nightcrawler Magneto issue and I'll happily talk about it and I'll bring. And I think that would be an interesting one to do, especially if they're different dichotomies of the way they view things. Yeah,
no, I love it. I wrote it down so I don't forget. It'll be a good challenge too. And what's funny is that Dave Cockrum created Nightcrawler, right? And he's passed, unfortunately. His wife, who's still living, Patty Cockrum, who I got to meet in Charlotte Heroes Con this year, she is so hilarious. She is such a character. But one thing that's very true about her, when I met her, she was wearing a certain shirt. And so I asked her, hey, so I heard you might like Magneto. And she points at her shirt. It's Magneto all over it. And she goes, this is my home. And I said, you got it. He is your man. So that's just hilarious to me that the wife of the guy who created Nightcrawler loves Magneto. So it's kind of a weird connection there to make.
Yeah, I can't think of any stories where they do a story together. I'm sure it's happened. I can't think of any because Magneto, he loves mutants that look mutant. Like he loves like he tends to like he wants that deformity, like ones that can't fit in. Those are the ones he's fighting for. So I'm sure they have some great interaction. I just can't think of any right now.
I'll have to find it. And I don't know if there's a whole issue or not, even after all these decades, but there's at least got to be like an issue or two where they have some good like moments or conversations or time together. There's got to be something because I mean it's been literal decades. Like
right. Yeah, and especially with Azrael, like Azrael and Nightcrawler get along, and Azrael was a former, a Brotherhood of Mutants follower of Magneto. Like there's got to be something there that I may have missed or haven't seen.
Oh, 100%. Well, I'm going to do my research. And those you watching, you just got a sneak peek of what's going to come at some point next year. I'm going to connect Travis to the Nightcrawler podcast. So if you enjoyed this part of our conversation, you want to hear more, go follow Simply Amazing and, look out for it. It'll be somewhere. But otherwise, thank you so much, Travis, for coming on. It's always so fun having you because we end up talking about all your great stuff. And then we talk about 10 other things.
Yeah, and those are my favorite podcasts too. Like I love to talk about my stuff. I want to pitch my stuff, but I love comics, so I have no problem talking about what came out this week or what we're reading or what we love because that's what I care about. Like I have a Discord now that people talk about some stuff. We've been having fun there and getting that part of the community. It's not just about me. I'm just one cog who's selling comics, but there's so many great things out. Like listen to them, watch them. That's what I do at my time. I'm on the Substack. I listen to Matt Rosenberg's podcast. I listen to Scott Snyder's one. I listen to all these every week. I love comic book interviews. So
yeah,
hopefully someone's watching this because they want to listen to me. Hopefully,
that's
whoever you are. I love you. I think you're great, whoever you are.
Whoever needs to soundbite then just put it on repeat anytime you have a bad day. Travis has got you.
I love you. I'm only writing comics for you. Don't listen to anybody else. Just you. Keep buying them.
I love it. Well, you spoke of your Discord and all the things like that. Tell us where people can find you, where they can keep up with Orange Cone Productions. If you want to plug your Discord, plug anything.
Yeah. The easiest thing is the Discord. So travisgibb.discord.com. I have a Discord. I have a paid and a free version. And what you do is you get a lot of times it's me selling the books, but as Lauren said, sometimes I do really in-depth stories about how I created something or just how I feel about the industry. I try to get deep and very personal when I do those. The other thing that's the benefit of it is you can get Substack covers. So if you're a paid Substack member, you get them for free. So every time you buy a book, you get it for free. But if you're not, you have the opportunity to buy them at a discounted rate on any of the Kickstarters, which is pretty cool. So you can get an exclusive cover that I literally only print under 50 of. So it's super rare. So if you're into that and you want to have that personal relationship, I allow to do that. But it's kind of a cool place to hang out with me. And if you want to buy any of my books, like if you're like, dude, that Granite State Punk sounds awesome, and you don't want to wait till March, which I think you should wait till March. But if you don't want to, you can go to the website, orangeconeproductions.com, and get any of the Orange Cone catalogs that's available. You can get it.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm super excited. And those of you that are super lazy like I am, I'll make sure to put the links in the description below so you can just do a couple clicks and there you go. You're a part of the party. You've ordered like 4 covers. You can't go wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with just clicking and enjoying what you get.
Right. And one of them is completely different. You just have to buy all the covers to find the completely different one. It's a completely different
scavenger hunt. Everybody likes that because then everybody goes, oh my God, now I got to get them all.
Imagine if I did that. You know, one of the books is completely different of one of the covers. Like it's a completely different, extra pages, extra everything, but I don't advertise it. It's not an extended. I just, you know.
That would be crazy. That would, you know what? That would probably work really well in the comics market if you did it right.
It probably would. You're probably right. I have seen books with alternate endings. I'm not sure if you've seen those. Like,
oh wow, no, I haven't. That's
yeah,
really cool.
Yeah. There's a couple of books that there's 2 versions of it. Depending on where you get it, depends on the ending you get. So that's kind of cool. But that's also a real pain in the butt because then you got to go to another comic store and hope that they have the one with the right ending. You know?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if like because you can do that and get like different endings, but if you know, which is I think that's more fun, but I think it'd be cool even to like have a story and then at the end of the issue they have like 2 or 3 separate endings, and one you don't know which one the real one is, or 2 you can just pick which one you like better. That would be kind of fun because I love that with like stuff like that. Makes me think of the like 80s Clue movie, and they had the different endings, and like in the theaters at the time, I was not born, but at the time, each time you went to a theater, you didn't know which ending you were getting. You didn't know if you got the one you saw last night or if you're getting a new one. So I'm just imagining people going to the theater over and over and they're like, I've seen these 2 endings. I need the 3rd. When are they going to show it?
Yeah. I mean, I like that at like theme parks. You know, they have Star Tours here. And if you go on it, you get one of 3 things will play. So every time you go on the ride, it's a different ride, which is pretty cool. Wow. And then if you like a character, like I like Lando Calrissian a lot, so I'll keep going on it till I see Lando. Like I want to see Lando. Like he's my dude.
Yeah, I didn't know they did that. It's been a long time since I've been somewhere like Disney, so maybe when I'm not broke.
Come visit us. We'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll hitchhike over there. Hopefully you'll have pizza and comics. That's all I need to try. Pizza and comics. Yeah,
if you come, I'll get you pizza. But Florida pizza is bad. It's bad. So I don't know if I'd recommend it.
Maybe I'll just like get some stuff from a grocery store and I'll make a really like somehow worse pizza at your place. Because I am no chef.
Fantastic.
I love it. Well, thank you again, Travis, for coming back. You're always in the nerdy neighborhood, making pizza, making comics, going in circles. It's a great show. I think at one point the neighborhood put, you know, Thor's the barbecue master and he's like right across from your shop. How's that bond going?
It's a little tough. You know, barbecue is good, but you know, pizza is what you need. It's affordable, you know, barbecue can be expensive, you know, and barbecue it weighs on you, right? When you eat barbecue, you feel like you ate barbecue. Pizza, you're like, I can have another slice. All right, I'll just have one more. So I think I'm always going to win in that category, but you know, you never know.
Well, sorry, Thor, you're always going to be on the other side of the street, not on the side of the street that's rocking. It's rocking with Travis. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this. When you watch this later, again, check out the links below, click away, check out Travis and Orange Cone Productions and literally everything else they do. You've got Coins of Judas coming out in January. So if you haven't ordered it, call your shop, see if they can just hold one for you. If they get an extra one, I'm sure they'd be glad to, like kind of like Travis mentioned. And then Granite State Punk, if you missed it, is coming out in March. Or if you just want that really bomb ass cover like I do, because I already have it, but I'm going to get more. Check it out in March. It's from Scout Comics. It's going to be super awesome. And we'll see you guys next time in the nerdy neighborhood.